new Overwatch event is out today with tons of awesome skins and content to dig through, but also there was a big patch along with it. What's going on, guys? It's FREEDO for Your Overwatch, and let's break down the changes that are going live into the game right now. Tons of talk about Lucio. What were the changes that Blizzard finally fell on? Well, damage is going to be increased by 25%, projectile speed increased from 40 to 50, alternate fire considers vertical orientation when knocking targets back. All of the lethality into Lucio's sonic amplifier went through. The era of Battle Lucio has begun, launching Reinhardt's into the air, and now very likely to win duels if you have the skill set to use the power of music, man, to overcome your enemies and the flankers that are trying to pounce you. Crossfade. This is one area where they did tweak quite a bit on the PTR, and this is what they finished with. The area of effect has been decreased from 30 meters to 10 meters, but the healing per second for both the passive song and for Amp It Up was increased by 30%, but the effect it has on himself was tuned down to 25%. This is something that they changed on the PTR. Basically, it puts him closer to where he was, if not exactly there, I'm not a mathematician, to where he was before this change went live. There was a period of time on the PTR where he felt like an actual tank and you couldn't kill him, and it was that over-heal effect where you just couldn't finish him off, which is important because he also got the changes to his movement abilities where he gets a 20% speed increase while on walls and a burst of speed when leaping off the walls, giving him that momentum like you're playing Jet Set Radio Titanfall or sliding down a slope on SSX Tricky. Do you guys remember that game? It was on the PS2. That's really old. The implications of this could change and unlock the game in a different way, so I'm really excited to see what this mixes up. This change was one of the most controversial that they've ever tried to put out, and now it's here. Let us know what you think in the comments. I love to hear it. The developers themselves said, Lucio often felt like a must-pick due to his raw healing output and versatility of providing a speed bonus to your entire team. The goal of these changes is to keep those elements feeling strong, but making them harder to apply to everyone on your team at all times. The end result is that he should feel stronger with teams that he can stay close to, but not as strong when on teams with heroes that are often spread out, such as Pharah, Widow, Genji, etc. Much of Lucio's character power was tied up with his large, passive auras, which caused other elements of his kit to be weakened over time in an attempt to balance him. Now that his auras are more focused, it will allow them to be much stronger and allow Lucio to be more active in his role. The really tricky thing about these Lucio changes is that it is a net nerf to most players, but for those who can utilize his skill set, it might be a buff in a way. So for the high-end Lucios out there that really can command his kit, you'll probably be able to get the same amount of value for way more work, but also be able to unlock plays that you just couldn't do before, where Lucio would rather be hiding back in the day. Now he wants to get in there, be knocking Reinhardt's in the air, and setting up his friendly Reinhardt to earth-shatter the entire enemy team. The massive play potential that Lucio has now. Big discussions on whether or not this is going to enable a more tank-focused play, if it'll kill dive comp. Personally, I think multi-tank is kind of contained even with these Lucio heal changes. He will fit in that comp, but I think he also fits in comps where he's able to move characters around to be able to set them up for initiation as well. I think the most underrated hero with this change is going to be Reaper because he's the type of character that actually can stick close to a healer, whereas characters like Genji, Pharah, Tracer kind of need to zip around and be too far away from Lucio to be able to get the advantage of his healing often. Slower DPS, where he can actually pocket them, we'll see a bit more value. And I think it's going to be a bit harder to be able to stay in the same fights that Tracer stays in that close proximity because she always has that get out of jail free card with recall. Lucio needs walls to be able to get around quickly, otherwise he might be too easily focused. So we'll see how this develops. I think regardless, when you set up for initiation and you're a cute little death ball, you want to all be together anyway. So once that speed amp happens, you don't necessarily need that 30 meters of radius to get that play to work. So I think it'll still set up dive comp and death ball. Because to be honest, the passive auras, when he doesn't have Amp It Up, weren't that strong to begin with, and when you wanted to use those speed boosts, you didn't necessarily need to maximize the range of it. Now, unfortunately, characters that are outside of that range won't be getting that effect, but I think it was way more important for you to speed around your tanks and healers who don't have any movement abilities, whereas Genji and Pharah and characters like that already can move somewhat, so they won't be hit that hard by the speed radius change. I don't think it was as much of a necessity to get those characters speed. The characters that you still want to speed will still be able to get it in your 10-meter radius. The next big change was that a big head was toned back. The size of Orisa's head hitbox has been increased by 15%. What does that mean? Now is it no longer the size of Jupiter? Maybe we're shooting for Mars instead? We had a lot of fun making the Everything Counters Orisa video. I think the change to her head hitbox was kind of a must, and I'm glad that they were so quick to just put it in. I don't even remember this being on the PTR, so I think it was unanimous that this is one area that Orisa needed some help in. Judging by how it affected Winston's head hitbox, I think this is in a fair state. I think the way that offensive weapons work in this game, whether they're a skill shot or a spread shot, either way, we don't need a head hitbox as big as Orisa's and Winston's head used to be. I think it's good where it is now. With a few more tweaks, I think Orisa could be pretty good. Right now, she's still in the pretty darn niche category. But as the game develops, we'll keep giving in our opinion, and hopefully we can form Orisa to be as competitive with the other tanks before long. Now, a big change happened to both Assault and Assault Escort maps, also known as Hybrid, that sort of stops ties altogether. The developers say, to mitigate draws in competitive play, we're implementing a system that tracks each team's progress on the objective. This will work similarly to the system that's already in place for the payload maps, which grants a win to the team that pushes the payload the furthest. Now, even if neither team successfully captures the objective, a winner can be determined based on which team captured the largest portion. Now, there's a few tweaks to this system that I think we're gonna have to test. Don't know if it's exactly where we want it yet, but at the very least, I think we all would prefer a system where there was less ties. Now, I wanted to go on to the game and test this in depth because there was some issues with this on the PTR, but there's like a queue of 50,000 people to get on the game. But can I like phone up Jeff Kaplan to ask him for a special route so I could get on and test this so I can make videos for you guys? But there was an issue on the PTR where if the first team gets like no percentage, no progress on the objective, it gets full held, shut out, can't even get 1%, well, the enemy team could just dive the point and get 1% and then instantly win. Now, that sounds a little bit harsh. There was some constructive criticism on the forums and whatnot that maybe there was a threshold that you had to reach up to maybe 1 tick. I'm not exactly sure what it is because I can't get on the game right now, but if it's going to be aggressively scored in that way, I think it's going to change how we decide to play these maps entirely. Now it's going to be more important than ever to force the enemy defense to defend on the point, because now any progress you make on capturing a point matters. Which I still think is a better world than when you get 3 ticks and the enemy doesn't even get 1, yet somehow it's still a tie. I like this better. But more to come on this. Another change that allows you to save presets in your custom games. This is really good. I also would say I would like maybe a community page for us to be able to download these presets or be able to vote them up. So the most popular modes can get saved for the entire community, or even for Blizzard to make their own presets. I would just like a competitive button that I could push. Whereas right now you have to go through each game type and put competitive mode on and double check the rules and everything. And it's a little bit convoluted in that way. I'd like to see that, but at the very least now, for those of you that set up maybe like Widowmaker headshot only, you can just save that as a preset and then load it whenever you want when it's time for you to host the server. Also, they added a new option which allows you to change the weapon clip and magazine size or grant unlimited ammunition, which I think can unlock some pretty crazy game modes. Have fun with that, guys. The last change that went through was a new route to Eichenwalde. I said Eichenwalde correctly. Can you guys believe it? I've been trying this whole time, I swear to you. Eichenwalde now has a flank route on the first point to the right side, which I think is important for those of you who struggle against the defensive Pharah, who peeks over the top constantly and shells into that main street. My suggestion is to deathball through and take this cute little path instead of going through that main choke. Or you can maybe like sneak a flanker through here, Tracer, Sombra, things like that when your team's taking the main choke. Adds another option for you to be able to permeate the defense. Very good change as far as I'm concerned. I'd like to see more map changes like this as well. Eichenwalde has seen a few changes, but new updates like this can add for some interesting competitive play as the game grows and develops. Huge changes, guys. Who's excited? New skins, new game modes, and new revitalized characters with these big patches that are hitting today. How many of you are going to be Lucio mains now? That he's a lethal wall-riding speed demon badass? Or any of you willing to try Orisa again in competitive play now that she might die a little bit slower. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. It really does help us out and lets us know that you're enjoying the content. Subscribe for more because we upload each and every day, and you're going to want to hit the bell icon so that you get notified when our videos go live. Join the notification squad. Linked in the description, you can check out our Twitch page, our Twitter, and our Discord server where you can interact with our community and find teammates to pair up with. That's been it for me. I've been FREEDO for Your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.